All right. Nino Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom Conquered. Um since I don't have any notes on this whatsoever, I'm going to say one, I don't like that uh Ferdinand is Evan's son. And two, um there was something else with Ferdinand. I don't like that he has the power to send his mind through time. That I don't know. I don't like that, but um the game as a whole has been an interesting ride. I was level like 55, 52, something like that. I was around 20 levels down from the final boss, and I still took him out. That that's kind of crazy. I don't know if I've ever been in a game where I had that much flexibility, if you want to say it like that. It was kind of weird, but also kind of nice. Because I've mentioned before, I don't play games for the difficulty. I play them, to enjoy them and have fun. And I definitely did that. So what I do have written down here. That was the other thing. Before I get into that, Roland and this real world that they teased at the beginning of the game. I don't know what the point was. And that's kind of a shame because this whole, the first game spent a lot of time going back and forth between, I'm just going to call it the fake world and the real world. And, there were parallels happening every time. And there was none of that in this game. They just kind of, this is going to sound really bad, but it felt like they hand-waved Roland to get into the world to accomplish something. Which, saying they hand-waved, it doesn't make any sense because hardly anything real-world related actually didn't really affect the story at all. And so it's really not fair to say it's hand-waved, but at the same time, how else are you going to describe it? Why not just have any old, random person help them out or something like that? I don't know. They took this game in a different direction from the first one, and I like the changes, but Roland's purpose in this game is kind of awkward. And since I don't have those written down either, Dalaran being Roland's soulmate, I believe is what they called him in the first game. That was kind of weird, and I didn't expect that. And I kind of disappointed that I didn't expect that. But at the same time, I wasn't in that mindset this entire game because this game is so different from the first one. The only similarities are it's in the same world, but it's either it's like so far into the future where the land masses have changed, and there's really like no mention of what's his name? Oliver. There's really no mention of Oliver except for at the very beginning of the game where we do that wonderful puzzle, which we never get to see any other puzzles ever again, which is a tragedy. But anyways, what I have here, the story seems to be pretty... Let me turn this down. Relax. All right. The story seems to be pretty... I would say relatively simple. It starts off with Evan. He is the king of Ding Dong Dell, and the Mousinger sets up a coup, and now he's kind of screwed. Oh, Digital Hearts did a QA on this game. That's amazing. Shout outs to Digital Hearts. Love those guys. Anyways, a coup happens to Evan. He escapes and he decides that he's gonna build up his own kingdom. Or I guess with Roland at his side. Oh.
We'll be arriving at the World Unification Summit shortly, Mr. President.
Thanks.
You seem happy.
Not really. We still have a mountain to climb. I can't imagine convincing all the nations of the world to sign up to this will be easy.
It's never been done before, I guess, but if you could pull it off, wow.
Oh, it's been done all right.
Really?
Sure. In a little country a long, long way from here.
Those are some nice fireworks. Robes of Unity. Make a completed save. You'll start again from after fighting Dalaran. Sure. We'll make that save here. No. Yeah, here. No. We'll make it here. Okay. Okay. So, well, I guess it's low enough. So, anyways, sets up a coup. He's going out to start his own kingdom, and first he wants to make a world with no war, which is absolutely ludicrous. You know, who's gonna make a world with no war? You know, especially when you need to have war to get these guys to see your side. Anyways, they took an interesting direction with that. Then they go for the Declaration of Interdependence thing, which Ferdinand did years before. And for the most part, I mean, that was, you know, okay. You know, you want to unite the worlds like that under a single banner. That's cool. All right, I'll take that. And then I guess Dalaran's kind of intentions start getting revealed with him wanting to release the Horned One, which we don't know why, but more than likely to, you know, bring back his city. So that's basically the story, and all the wrap up basically happened in this last I guess I've been streaming almost 3 hours. 2 hours 50 minutes. So yeah. Was it satisfying? Don't really have a great answer to that. As far as was the story satisfying? The story was just kind of super simple, and I'm not gonna say it was bad because I thought it was entirely passable, but I think it could have been, or rather, I would say, I kind of wish they moved some of that ending wrap up a little bit, I guess, earlier into the game. You know, it would have been nice to have more interactions with Dalaran than what we did. You know, build up that character. That I felt like that would have been nice. We got to see a little bit of him, but it just wasn't. It didn't portray him correctly, which could have been intentional. But I would have rather seen Dalaran be a sympathetic villain from the start rather than painting him as the oh no, you know, he's gonna destroy the world and all this other good stuff. So it wasn't satisfying. If I had to go with a binary answer, I'm gonna say yes. But you know, there's gonna be like a couple asterisks after that. Did it feel complete? Absolutely. I mean, what is my game time? I'm at 38 hours. So I mean, that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. How was the pacing? Oh my goodness, the pacing of this game was super quick. I was kind of caught off guard by how quick this game just gets you rolling. You know, like you hit the ground running with this game. It does not slow down. And that was really refreshing. There's no moments in here where it's, you know, oh man, this game is starting to drag. Well, there might have been that moment if you weren't leveling up your kingdom the way like throughout the game, which you should be doing. But if you weren't doing that, getting to level 3 kingdom, level 4 weapon shop, that probably would have been a little annoying. But other than that, the pacing of this game was wonderful. Did I like it? Of course. This game is great. Game is great. Some gameplay stuff. What gameplay elements stood out to me? Basically, just the things that it did different from the first game. The kingdom building, I like that. I wish you could place the buildings wherever you wanted to. But the kingdom building was cool. I didn't have any problems with that. I hope they continue with that. The army combat, I thought that was cool. A little simplistic. I wish there was a little bit more complexity or I don't know. For the most part, there was no real control over the army combat. It was kind of just like move forward, let the enemies attack by themselves, rotate your people, and then, you know, use your resources however you see fit. Which I guess just wasn't super engaging, I guess. That might be the best descriptive term for it. There wasn't much there, but what was there was nice, but I wish there was more. There were some problems with it though, where a lot of the information that you get is not helpful. For example, if you go into the screen right before the battle and you see all the soldiers, like you want to see all the enemy forces, it doesn't show you all the enemy forces. It shows what's going to be on the map at that point in time. And if reinforcements come in, you never get to see the stats of those. And that's kind of an irritating either oversight or design choice that I wish they didn't go with. And then I have puzzles. There are only 3 puzzles in this entire game, and they're at the very beginning of the game. And they are absolutely wonderful. I really liked those puzzles. And as I said earlier, it's a dang shame that there are no other puzzles in this game. Because I love me some puzzles. They're so much fun. Let's see. While in a dungeon fight, items not collected move towards you when you move near them after the fight. On the world map, they drop right next to the character. So if you watch me play Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that was something really annoying with the collection points, where you'd pick them up and they start falling off the ledges and rolling down the hills and stuff like that. That was obnoxious. But in this game, you know, you don't have to pick up all the items after the fight, which is first of all, I don't know if I've played a game that drops items in the middle of the fight that you pick up. And if I did play one, you have to pick them up in that fight, or else they're lost forever. This game doesn't force you into a mindset of having to pick up items. It's just a really nice design choice. It's one of those things where, if you're normally playing a game that has this, you're probably not going to say, like, oh man, this is like really awesome. Like these items are just, gravitating towards me automatically. But if a game didn't have that, it would stand out to you a lot, because it's a tedious process, and this game just simplifies it, and I like it a lot. Fast travel is plentiful and doesn't punish the player. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has a similar design outlook to this. And I'm actually going to compare this game to Xenoblade Chronicles 2 quite a bit, if I haven't already, because these games have a ton of parallels to them, and fast travel is just one of many. Being able to fast travel basically at any point during the game, except for points where the game specifically tells you, hey, you're not going to be able to fast travel, or they word it, you're going to be stuck in this upcoming scene for a little bit. Are you sure you want to continue right now? And being able to fast travel whenever you want just offers up a ton of freedom that you wouldn't otherwise have. It's another one of those things where if you didn't have the ability to fast travel whenever you wanted, it might be a little tedious. And it might stick out to you, but because it has it, it flies under the radar. Combat, fast, fluid, and varying options. I wrote this down several days ago, so I like the combat. It is simplistic though. You use the square button and the triangle button to attack. Square button is light attacks. Triangle button is heavy attacks. And that's essentially the bulk of the combat. The skills and spells are pretty cool. I like how flashy they are. I like their, I guess I'll use the word variability. Some of them have these wide sweeping arcs and AoEs, and some of them are single target. They do some really interesting things with the combat, but I do wish it was just a little bit more complex. But at the same time, I'm happy I'm happy that this is the first iteration, because I think this is a great starting point for combat, for like a reboot of the combat, and then moving forward. There are criticisms of the combat, however, and I'm not going to get into difficulty just yet. I'm going to save that for a little bit later, but this game falls into a trap that's kind of tied with the difficulty, in that it introduces a ton of systems like Higgledies, kingdom building, I guess Higgledy leveling, weapon upgrading. I'm probably forgetting a couple of them. They implement these systems, but because of how the combat is and the difficulty of the game, they're not necessary to dive into, and for the most part they don't really add all that much to the experience, because you don't feel like you need them, and that's kind of a shame. But I'll mention a little bit more of that I guess a little bit later. Let's see. The Hydropolis Kingsbond boss had a unique higgledy mechanic. So this is something that I was really happy to see in this game, was that there were really cool mechanics in some of these fights. They didn't carry it over for all the boss fights, unfortunately. But they did for a couple of them, mostly the Kingmaker fights, Kingsbond fights, what have you. They did some really cool stuff. And I applaud them for not just making them kind of I wanted to use the word tank and spank, but more of a like a hack and slash, just generic, move in, kill the enemies like you would any trash mob, basically. I like that they added a little bit of flair to the boss fights to make them more unique. Let me see. I don't have any annoying dungeons. All the dungeons, all the areas were pretty short. There were save points spread out throughout them. It didn't feel like there were enemies all over the place. The dungeon design really fits really well with the pacing of this game, which is fast paced, just hit the ground running. It doesn't slow you down. And that's a real big hallmark of the dungeon design here. I don't have any cardinal sins written down either. I used Evan throughout the entire game. I imagine during that final fight it would force you to use Evan, which would probably be a problem. But at the same time, like, Evan is the main character of this game, and there's really no confusion about Evan being the main character, so I don't think a cardinal sin is really warranted here. Moving on to the miscellaneous area for sound, music. I didn't really get to listen to a ton of music in this game, but the music that I did listen to was absolutely wonderful. Even this song, which is either from the first Ni no Kuni or just reminds me so much of the first Ni no Kuni that I just love it. The voice acting, oh boy. Okay, so I'll get into that in a minute. I want to get into the graphics real quick. This game is super pretty. It kind of reminds me, it has that cell shade look that reminds me of Wind Waker. And it's probably like one for one. It's probably 100% cell shade. We'll just say it's cell shading, but it's really nice. It just looks really good. And so I really love the visual style. At the very beginning of this Let's Play, I spoke about the menus. I'll get into menus. The menus here are so good looking. I love the frames. I love, the placement of things. I like the icons. There could be more information. I wish I could see the experience of my characters in numeric values, but it's kind of a nitpick kind of thing. They just do a really good job. Like these higgledy things, there's so much information that these higgledies have on them, and they thought of a unique, maybe not unique, but they thought of an efficient way to have you cycle through all the higgledy abilities and what they do and give you all the relevant information. The user experience and the UI designers for this game are fantastic. They, I can't praise them enough for just how wonderful these menus are. Um, if I could recreate these for my stream layout and whatnot, I would do so in a heartbeat. And you know, that might be something that I'll try tackling down the road. I love the look of these menus. They look wonderful. Replay value. I don't think this game has any replay value for the purpose of playing the game from start to finish again. And me saying this is kind of weird because I replayed through the first Ni no Kuni game, and I don't think that game has any replay value. So it's kind of a person-to-person thing. Me personally, I might actually replay this game someday. Maybe when the third Ni no Kuni game comes out. Hopefully it doesn't take like 10 years or something like that. But I'm gonna say that the game doesn't have replay value because once you beat it, you can just continue playing. So why do you need to start all over? I don't know. If you want to play the game again, though, play the game again. I'll probably play the game again. Favorite characters. Here's one of the kind of... I don't have a favorite character in this game. I like Roland and I like Batu. But... And I like Leander. I mean, I like basically all the characters except for Tani. But I don't really think any of them are my favorite. You know, Dalaran was probably my favorite character until he was revealed to basically be Roland's soulmate, and that just kind of killed his character for me. Yeah, the characters are cool, but the character development in this game might be something that suffers from the quick hit the ground running pacing. Is we don't really get to see very many moments for these characters in the main quest. In the side quests, you know, there's a lot of nice little tidbits and things like that. But that's about it. Let's see. Moving on to things that I disliked. This might be a cardinal sin, actually. I don't know if I have that as a cardinal sin, but non-active party members get reduced experience. I talk about that a lot in RPG games that I play. It bugs me that this archaic design is still something that developers and game makers and, you know, just people in general feel is a good thing in their game. It doesn't offer interesting choices. It doesn't make the game harder. It puts an arbitrary block in front of the player and says, you know, do you want to use your favorite characters? Well, you might not be able to. And, you know, that's further it hurts the game more when they force you to use certain characters. So I really wish, you know, game developers, if you're out there, don't stop doing that. Just give everyone full experience. Let us use whoever we want. You know? Another thing I disliked. Main story wasn't fully voice acted. This is another thing that I talk about a lot. I'm of the opinion that, you know, if you're gonna voice act your game, either voice act the full main story, or don't voice act like anything in the main story. If you're gonna use voice acting, you need to have entire scenes voice acted. And this game suffers, just like the first game, it suffers from these moments where you're in a scene, like let's say we just walk into the castle and we have like this the strategy meeting. We'll have no voice acting for the first, like, I don't know, 14 lines of dialogue. And then we'll go into like a little cutscene, voice acted dialogue. And then once that over, we'll go into no voice acting. And then once we like reach a crescendo of the scene, we'll get some voice acting. And I just don't like that. I feel like it takes away from the game experience more than it adds anything. I'd much rather prefer it have no voice acting or all voice acting for scenes. But even more important than that for me is I just wish the main story had full voice acting. I don't care about the side quests. Those don't have to be voice acted. But there's not even that much dialogue in the main story. I mean, there's a lot, but compared to a lot of the stuff in this game, especially a lot of dialogue in this game that doesn't really make sense why it's voice acted, but it is for some reason, they could have just added that to the main story. I don't know. And my thoughts. Let me see. Roland's betrayal to acquire the Mark of Kings. I mentioned this before. I'm probably not going to go too heavy into it. I'm not a fan of Roland's fake betrayal that much. I think it could have. I wish they took it in a different direction, but whatever. And then I already mentioned this before: text reading, then voice acting in a single scene. Make it one or the other. Let me see. If the developer is watching, first I want to say you made a fantastic game. I love the direction that this game was taken in. And while I was one of the possibly few people that actually, liked the familiar system, I appreciate how this game iterated on the first and kind of
Greetings.
how do I want to put it? It set itself apart by making something new, and it didn't screw itself over. You didn't fall into traps. And so I applaud you for that. However, the difficulty of this game, it is something to be desired. And I see a lot of people disliking this game because of the difficulty. And I really can't fault them for thinking that, because at the end of the day, a lot of people do play games for their challenge. Dark Souls is a crazy challenging game that, that's what draws people in, is they want to fight these really cool boss fights that, require strategic planning and, precise inputs and things like that. And this game offers tools to take advantage of a difficulty like Dark Souls, or to be compared with Dark Souls. I mean, it's not Dark Souls, but like this game has mechanics that can draw parallels to that. But because the game is so easy, you don't need to really use any of those. The Higgledies, the weapon upgrading, I mean, even for the most part, kingdom building. And then on top of that, if I were to go into the menu here, this tactic tweaker, I'm not even really sure what impact this has. The spoil settings, like I was supposed to get more experience, but I haven't really gotten. I feel like it didn't really make any difference. I'm extremely. I had this on EXP the entire game, and the final boss was still looks like 12 levels, 15 levels higher than me. I probably got a few levels. We'll just say like 15 levels higher than me. And I didn't really skip that many fights. So I don't know what happened there. If you could release like a patch, I think the enemy health is fine. Maybe increase the enemy health by, like, I don't know, 15, 20%. That would be satisfactory. But increase the damage and maybe add some AI tweaks. I think this game could really benefit from a higher difficulty, or maybe just give it a higher difficulty option. However, if you wanted this game to be kind of simple, easy to pick up, I think you accomplished that. So if that was the goal, then I think, you did a great job with that. And I mentioned Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and how there was a lot of parallels to these games. And I would really like to know if there's a lot of influence there. These games were in development, in the same time. So it doesn't really make the craziest amount of sense that, you could look at Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as a finished product and then iterate on your game after that. But I don't know if you spoke to those developers or something like that, or, if you maybe you looked at Xenoblade Chronicles 1 or something like that. There's a lot of similarities between those two games, and I think you drew, if that's where the inspiration came from, I think it was from the right place. Xenoblade Chronicles is a fantastic franchise. And then the last thing I have here is the hilarious character names. I absolutely love the names of a bunch of the characters. Like, some of them just have the most absurd puns in them, and it's just that little flair, little something to add to your game that just makes it a little bit more interesting. And I look forward to actually talking to characters. Like, all right, what pun name do you got? We got Minty, like Minty Fresh, Peachy, like peach, the fruit. Achu, like you're sneezing. You can do it. I love it. I love it. Hoyden, I don't know what that one is. Hoyden. Young Maine, I don't know what that's supposed to reference. Lily, Bygone, like, bygones be bygones. Cheapy. I just love it. I mean, it's mostly the Gold Paw people, but there were a few others throughout the game as well. So I love that. Just a little bit more charm to the game, and that's fantastic. But that's everything I have written down. I was not prepared to beat this game today. But whatever. It happens. Overall, I absolutely love this game. I'm greatly looking forward to a sequel, maybe even some DLC for this game. I really hope the developers, if you guys can just kind of see the feedback and just push this game in the right direction. I really hope this game, you know, met your sales goals and whatnot. It was this game took a lot of risks, but I don't think any of those risks hurt the game. I think it sent it in a good direction. It's just the difficulty needs to be higher. That is probably the single biggest flaw in this game. If it was harder, there would be so much more of a reason to engage in many of the other systems within the game. So that's gonna do it for me. I don't think I have anything else to talk about. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom. We know what the title's about. Revenant Kingdom is about Dalaran's kingdom. So, you know, that's that. Another little tidbit, actually. I really love that the final boss, he was King Breaker. I thought that was nice. But anyways, that's going to be it for me. Streaming for 3 hours and 23 minutes. It's been a blast. Tomorrow, Saturday, the 7th, at 11 a.m. PST, I'll be playing A Way Out with a buddy of mine named Dante. And it's going to be basically a one sitting thing. Probably take, you know, several breaks here and there. But I'm greatly looking forward to that game. I don't have very many expectations, but I think it's going to be great. So with that, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I will be back Monday. I was going to say 5:30 PST. That used to be my old schedule. 6 o'clock p.m. PST with a video game. I don't actually know what game it's going to be, unfortunately, because I haven't gotten my Xbox 360 controller in the mail yet. And I wanted to get that before I started playing emulator games, which Evolution Worlds was going to be the next game that I played. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get Magic the Gathering Arena, MTG Arena, and I'll stream that. I want that game I want to get in that beta so bad. I check my email like every 10 minutes for the email that's never gonna come telling me that I'm invited. Here's my beta key. But yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. See you Monday. Peace.